Hello once again, dudes. To a I'm just gonna pick blue. To another awesome, exciting history lecture. And then this time I want to talk about the beginning battle of the American Civil War, the U.S. Civil War, the Battle of Fort Sumter, also known as the attack on Fort Sumter. What this is, um, how can I explain this? Uh, outside, outside a state in the South called I'm just gonna type it in South South Carolina. And this was the first state, and of course you can see how what I meant to type. South Carolina, and of course, or you don't know that, but it was the first state to succeed from. Oh God, I'm typing right now. Yeah, that's kind of all right. Finally, it was the first state to succeed from the United States of America, and eventually states like Mississippi and oh, is that even a state? Alabama and other states, Virginia joined later on, but this was the first state, and in the harbor. All right, I'm just gonna make so you understand what I'm saying. So I'm making error here. In the city, in the capital, basically of that state called Charleston. I mean, Charleston, right? Inside Charleston's harbor. So it's in the harbor of Charleston in South Carolina, which was the first state to succeed from the United States of America and eventually form the Confederate States of America, with states like Alabama, Texas, Mississippi, Virginia, North Carolina, and other states as well. A lot of other states, of course. Eventually, after the CS government was founded on April the 12th to April the 13th in 1861, the Battle of Fort Sumter was on beginning. And what this basically was, the Battle of Fort Sumter were the first battle of the U.S. Civil War, or yeah, it was kind of a problem for both sides, both for the U.S. and the CS government, because they were like, who should strike first? Like uh, you know, who should strike first? Because politically, just real quick, well, the first one to strike showed a bit of aggression, of course, of the two sides. So I'm just gonna type in versus here, so you understand what I'm meaning. Um, so basically, they none of the sides really wanted to fight, but eventually, the South Carolina arm just they didn't want to wait anymore. So what they did was on April the 12th, 1861, they began the Battle of Fort Sumter, or the attack of Fort Sumter, and it was the CS. I'm just gonna type over here. C for CS Army, and up here that is the U.S. Army. All right. So the general that led the attack for the Confederate forces here were Brigadier General P.G.T. Beauregard, and he had batteries in Charleston Harbor. And what this basic was all about, they didn't want, they thought like it was a property of the CS government. It was a part of the Confederate States of America. It belonged to the Confederate States of America. That fortress there. So they start bombarding. Now, before we even get to the point, you want to know something. Uh, uh, the leading command of the U.S. forces inside Fort Sumter were Major Robert Anderson. It wasn't very that bloody a battle, but it's often a symbol of the start of the Civil War. And the very worst of this battle, what it was that the CS government demanded them to surrender. Basically, it was part of the southern states, part of the Confederate States of America. CS government, they owned it, they fought, but Well, they even offered to buy it from the U.S. government. Believe that. But they didn't accept it. Of course, they didn't. The U.S. government didn't accept it as they well because whatever what the agreement were about was. I'm just gonna make it down here. Uh, I'm just gonna type here. But what it was about was basically not saying politically. What the hell? It were mostly like, all right, so agreement. I'm just gonna type agreement, and yet again, it were an agreement cause the U.S. government didn't agree to it. But this is how it sounded. This is how they see us put it up. So basically, they were saying like we buy, if I can spell it right, buy Fort Sumter, which is of course the fortress up here that were in South Carolina in the Charleston Harbor. So here, Fort Sumter, uh, and we go to peace. That was what the agreement were about. Basically, that's not literally how it looked, but that was basically how it looked. Uh, so the U.S. government found this. They didn't want to accept it because, first of all, they still didn't find them as a impotent nation. They still think that they still was like, all right. So the CS government is not really like a nation. Confederate States of America belong to the United States of America. So of course they didn't accept this. And eventually, uh, the South Carolina or the Confederate Army, the CS Army, just didn't want to wait anymore. So on April the 12th to April the 13th, in 1861, they started and commenced the attacks. So I'm not that good at drawing. You can already see that, but let me make a little painting. Right. So I'm gonna say here battle. I'm just gonna say battle. All right. So here let's draw a little battle map. Right. This is not correctly at all, but I'm just trying to draw it as good as I can. So let's let's say that this is Charleston Harbor, right? Of course, there's land behind that. All right. So we have some positions of the Confederate Army. So let's draw here Fort Sumter. Let's say we're here, like, all right. So this is Fort Sumter, and the Confederates planted batteries. So here we have maybe a Confederate battery. A Confederate battery. Can't remember exactly how many batteries were, but they will basically just shooting from all sides on that fortress a whole day until it surrendered, and it eventually did go inside there and take the fortress. So the numbers and the strength of the two sides were I was gonna type in U.S. 85 men, and the CS were eventually about 500 men. So the U.S. didn't really have a chance. So those 500 men were there shooting all day, firing on this fort, just shooting on it, basically making the enemy surrender. And eventually, on April the 13th, 1861, this fortress surrendered to CS Army. So this were in CS control. The war began, and they put it up the CS flag in here. So now that was open war, basically. That was open war, and they started. So the CS basically now really went to war, with the U.S. government, really the U.S. Army. Now the war really were begun. There's no way to be like, all right, we're not gonna do this. It was happening. So a lot of men were going to die now. That's what's for sure. Very sad, but maybe it was necessary. You can depends how you look on it. So basically, that was how it looked like, and of course this is not real drawn at all. But I hope you get the idea. So that's basically the Battle of Fort Sumter. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed learning something. I'll see you in the next tutorial.